right, hopefully this microphone is working. Like my new starting screen, something I'm screwing around with. All right. How's it going, everybody? I'm back again. Microphone seems to be working. I'm using another live streaming application called Streamlabs OBS. It's it's meant more for streamers that actually make money online, unlike myself. Um, and it's pretty cool. It's all meant for, like, you know, those people who are like they take the Twitch chat monies, you know what I'm saying? I don't even know. Anyway, it's pretty cool. And what's crazy to me is I was using OBS earlier today, and Sean and I were having a few problems trying to get the microphone and headphones working. We had this echo and delay, and I just unplugged my speaker cables because that's the last thing I had recently plugged in, and decided just to go crazy. So thanks, Corinne. I tested it. I tested it with Scott for a moment. He was online, so I did a little mini session just with him for a second, and seems like it's doing okay. So, all right. And it looks like more of you are here this time, so it actually worked out for the better. Welcome, everybody. I am going to talk about fiber mesh first. We were starting to talk about fiber mesh before everything went crazy, and I lost my microphone, but we're back now, and I appreciate it. So thanks for your patience. Let's get rocking on this. Okay, so fiber mesh. How does fiber mesh work? Well, you essentially assign fibers based on your mask. So all you have to do is put a mask down anywhere, just like this. Okay, and I have my background kind of light because this bear is so dark, it's hard to see, so I made the background light. But you go over here under Tool, go to Fiber Mesh, and the way you work with it is Fiber Mesh by its default is just a preview. That means if you go to rotate your scene around, you can see it disappears and then it pops back in, right? So it disappears and pops back. And this is the default Fiber Mesh right here. I haven't adjusted anything. And if you didn't know, there are some more Fiber Mesh presets up inside of the Lightbox under Fibers. Okay, so if you look at all these up in here, there's a whole bunch you can pick from and just try different things. Like this is more like a grass. Oh, it's film strips, because that's what we need, film strips or grass. There's some pretty funky ones. It can get pretty crazy. And what's cool about this, though, is you can push it over to Keyshot and it'll work. It'll actually work. Sometimes, now there's certain things that you have to do in order to get it to work, but it will work and it will render fibers, okay? But right now it's just a preview, and you can start messing with, oh great, you can start messing with all the little things. My dog is barking to go out. I'm sorry, I'll be right back. I'll run as fast as I can. I'll be right back. Oh my goodness. I should have pushed my pause screen. I have a cool pause screen too. What? Okay, anyway. Jeez. I'm the only one here. I'm home by myself. So I had to go run and let her out. So, okay. Anyway, now I'm all out of breath. Okay. So we have these fibers that we can mess with. And you can get pretty squirrely with them. It's quite fun. But basically what you do is you try and find one that is as close to what you're looking for as possible, even if it's like green. Okay, look at that one. I kind of like that one, but you can see all the different flavors. And what's cool about this is you can change fiber mesh into an actual mesh. Now, gosh, I gotta catch my breath. I literally ran. Anyway, but the thing about fiber mesh is, like I was explaining before my mic went down the first time, was this is good for rendering your final render inside of, like say, inside of ZBrush or inside of KeyShot. You can't really use it as in-game hair. Now you can generate hair cards with it, but it's quite difficult to do. It's not the best, and I usually use fiber mesh specifically for just a very quick illustration render, just screwing around, you know, nothing serious. Wow, that's some crazy stuff. what? I don't even know what's going on with half of these things. It's like fireworks or something. Yeah, you can, it gets pretty high dense. You can actually adjust the density. You can adjust how many strips that you have. You can adjust how many times those strips are cut down the length, and you can adjust how many of them there are. There's also a quick preview versus, you know, how many are really there. So I'm gonna go with this one, and because I think it's kind of funny. But I'm gonna go with this one and just start to adjust some things and see if we can figure out, make it look a little better, okay? So yeah, ship it, it's done. So right here is maximum fibers. That's basically how many you want. And right now this one is set to 6.5. We can roll it all the way down to like a 2, and you can see it's still quite dense. There's also another one that is called, let's see, coverage. So there's two sliders that kind of work with each other. One of them is max fibers and the other is coverage, okay? So you can see this coverage is set to 15. We can turn it down to 5, and it gets a lot lighter, but it's still quite dense. Let me go 1 just to try this, and I'm gonna go 1 right here just to see how few it does. And then the length of them is also a huge factor. So you can see this length is set all the way up to 888 for some reason. Let's crank that all the way down to just barely sticking out, okay? And then it's being affected by gravity heavily, okay? So you can see this gravity slider right here. You can roll that up and actually make it go in any direction you want. So the more gravity you have, the more it's going to go in that direction. And you can change the direction of the gravity if you want, but and you can, the gravity profile kind of affects how it gets affected down the length of the fiber. So you can make it stick out and then get affected by the gravity. That's what this is all about. So basically it's saying don't be affected by gravity until the very end. That's why it was kind of hanging like that. Okay, so let's see. I'll crank up those max fibers a little more so we can see it. That's too much. Coverage. Now, yeah, this coverage is it changes the thickness of each individual hair. That's pretty crazy. And it depends on the actual hair that you start with, as far as the profile of each hair, like what it looks like. You know, like some of them are shaped like these teardrop things, and some of them are shaped like these bulbous things. And this one is obviously like this wavy strip. I can actually shut this now so you can see it better. Okay, so I want to, let me just turn coverage down. So it all depends on kind of where you start. This looks like some sort of macaroni. And then you actually have this fiber texture. It's going kind of this blue and white. And another thing that makes a difference is when you hit render, it will change the look of it again. So this is just a preview, and I'm going to hit render. That's what it really looks like at render time. It looks seriously like noodles. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, the default looks like feathers, but you can see all the shadows and stuff in there. So it will render out, even though it's a preview, you can still render it, which is pretty crazy. So we have not committed this to anything. We're just messing with the modifiers, trying to get it to kind of be anything close to, like, say, bear fur. Okay, so you can see how it's coming out of where I had it masked, and then it's quite long still. So let's change the length of it. Here's where the segments are. So it's got 17 segments. The segments are how much it's divided along the length. So we don't need it divided. Let's change that to 4. And you can see how it gets very polygonal. See that? And yes, you can change the color for sure. So there's the base color right here, which is black, and the white color right here, the gray color right here. And then you have, this is actually being driven by an image, but you can turn the image off by just going texture off, and it will change this just to be based on that color. So this image, the hair color one, it comes with this hair that we chose. So I'm going to turn that off for a minute, and we can actually select or get more of a brown base color like this, and then have the tips of each hair be kind of a lighter orangish color, maybe like a brown like this. Okay, now I'm going to turn the length down again. We don't want them that long, not width, length. And it's also being affected by this length randomness and this revolve rate. So revolve means twisting down the length of it, okay? So I'm going to turn this to 0, and now it's no longer getting twisted. You can twist it. That's where you get the big curls and stuff from. Let's see. There's scale root and scale tip. So the root is where the hair is connected to the body. You can change the width of that, and then you can change the tip width too. So I'm gonna make these a little more tipped, or the tip a little sharper. Okay, you can see that now. And then let's see, yeah, just the fiber slimness. If you hover over each of these modifiers, it will tell you what it does. Okay, and there's also twist, fiber twist. You can see if I start messing with that, it's kind of turning the entire fiber all together to make it just kind of twist as it goes around. You can see it getting kind of pinched because there's not enough faces in there to hold it. So I'm going to change it back to there. I'm going to turn gravity on just a little bit more. So I think we're getting kind of closer. Let's do, I'm looking for that length again. Okay, right here. Okay. So something like this, I think, might be where I had it before. Okay, so once you get this, you want to render it out again, because you want to see what it's going to look like in the end. This is just giving you a preview. So it's going to look something like that. Now it's not dense enough, I think. So I'm going to turn that coverage up a little bit. Oh, the coverage is the thickness, sorry. I don't want that coverage too much. I actually want the max fiber count turned up. There we go. Okay, then there's also, let's see, there's clumping. So clumping just means it will clump everything together so it's not so even. See how this is turned up to 0.56? If I turn this down to 0 or close to it, you can see there's way fewer clumps. But if I crank this up, you can see that it kind of starts making some gaps in between a lot of these fibers, and it makes it more clumpy. Now, it just depends on the hair that you're going for. I would probably get some reference and kind of try and match it. And you can also see this color profile that's telling, see how it's going up and down and up and down? That just means the color is getting mixed all the way down the length of that hair. Let's see, base colorize, and that's pretty much it. That's your segments, preview settings. Um, so there's this fast preview too, and fast preview is much faster on your machine, but as you can see, it's not giving me, it's giving me not even close to what it's going to look like in the end. So only turn that on if you're kind of trying to work with it and it's really bogging your machine down. So let's see. Okay, so now if say we like this hair, we like the way it looked, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna say accept, or we can say save and come back to it. If you say save, it's gonna ask you to save it as, I'm just gonna call this Fibers Bare Hair. I called it, yeah. I almost put B-A-R-E, like bear hair. Okay, so, and then I can hit accept. And now we're out of preview mode. As soon as I hit accept, it goes out of preview mode and it makes a brand new subtool that's just the hair, okay? So the hair, I can solo this now. This is just the hair by itself. Yes, many hairs can definitely blue screen your rig. Thanks, Sean. Yeah, it's a PC hog. I should say a CPU hog. It's pretty crazy. So now I just have the hairs here and I can render them out. And this is kind of what it looks like. Now that I have this setting, this hair setting, and I saved it, what I can do is I can go back to the bear right here, and you can see how this is masked off. If I unsolo it, I'm going to clear the mask and I'm going to go, like, say over here somewhere and mask it off just for fun. Go back to fiber mesh, preview, and then turn on preview, and it's going to grab the same hair that was there before, all the same settings. And if you close ZBrush, load it back up, it's going to forget all these settings. So you'll have to go back in and open it after you've saved it. Go back in and open it and load it, and then it should work too. So anyway, do you guys have any questions about that? That's kind of how fiber mesh works. Just play with, you can just play with all the settings, and one more thing I wanted to show you under modifiers was that the length and width profile, that's essentially what is telling the fiber what shape to take. You know how you can even make them look like leaves or grass or whatever, and that's just the length and width profile that you have. So the length is actually like, so see how the length is straight right here on the profile? It's just gonna it's gonna keep the width the same all the way down the length. So if you change the width, it'll actually, like, you can grow it and then shrink it like a big leaf or something like that. So anyway, that's essentially fiber mesh. Now, the thing with fiber mesh that, and I'm gonna show you some other stuff really quick, but yeah, I'll get into the groom brush now, Marcus. I was just saying the basic fiber mesh. This is kind of how you get there and how you start to edit it and modify it and that kind of stuff, okay? But the thing with fiber mesh is that the roots are kind of stuck in space. So if you change the pose of him, you can't really change the fibers after the fact, as far as I know. They're kind of stuck in space. So let me come back here and grab this little tuft right here. And you can grab the move brush and you'll kind of see what I mean. See that? I'm growing, I'm grabbing and pulling on the hairs, but the roots are stuck. And they're not masked either. I can clear the mask. They're just stuck there. So, and I don't even think I can use it. I can move it with the gizmo. Okay, so I can move the hair with the gizmo, but I can't move the roots with the move brush. I think I have to use an actual hairbrush. So if you hit B and you go into the brush palette, you can see all of these brushes that start with groom. So there's groom blower, brush one, clumps, all this stuff, okay? And the thing about all of these brushes, and I'm just saying this from experience, but none of these brushes work. Like they don't work as far as what I'm trying to do with the fur, okay? I have a much better time using, like, say, the snake hook brush and smooth to actually make it work. Okay, so we're going to grab the snake hook brush. And one thing about really quickly about color is you can actually color this fur after the fact. So I could grab my hard paint brush, change it to this red color, and I can paint this fur. See that? Now he's looking awesome. So you can paint it after the fact. You can use the airbrush, you can use anything like that. It's just the vertex coloring, that kind of stuff. But let's go to the snake hook. I'm going to turn RGB off. Okay, so I'm going to pull out some of this hair, and you can see that it's just much more controlled. Okay, and the root of the hair is staying there. So say I want the hair to be thinner, or like say shorter up top, longer down at the bottom. Okay, I'm going to hold the shift button down for smooth. I'm going to turn off RGB, and I'm going to turn the Z intensity way down to like a 4. Well, smooth will actually shrink the hairs. Can you see that the length of the hairs is shrinking? See, but it's also I'm losing the pointy tip. It's going back to square, so you got to be careful with that. You can also just use your the snake hook brush to nudge the hairs closer to the surface. It's not necessarily shortening them by any means, but you can groom that way. The only one that I've seen that I've played with that sort of works is this groom lengthen. So if I use this and I want really long hair in just say a certain area, I can go like this and just kind of grab it and pull it, and it treats it a little differently than the snake hook brush, which means what it's doing is it's actually physically adding more separations down the length of the hair, whereas the snake hook brush is just literally pulling those polygons in space. It's just deforming them in space, whereas this lengthen brush, I believe, I could be lying right now because I don't know what I'm talking about, but I believe that it's adding segments as I pull it out. Okay, and I can go quite far with it, and it's adding the segments to it. See that? Kind of cool. Giving him one of those like a mohawk on a Saturday or something, when the person with the mohawk's just like, you know what? I'm not going to put egg whites in this today. I'm just going to let it lay. So it can be a heck of a lot of fun, and I haven't tried baking this fur. You could make like fur maps, like you could make a hair strip and make some of these fibers and lay them, lengthwise down the strip, and then bake them out using like alpha and stuff like that to make hair cards. And you can also, like I said, you can make hair cards with this. It's just very, very difficult and not very easy to control. And like Sean said, you'll be saying swear words. So anyway, that's fiber mesh. Does that help you guys out? I usually use fiber mesh just for fun. If I'm gonna give a guy like a beard and a mustache and maybe some sideburns or something, or just something light and fun, I hardly ever use these fiber mesh seriously. It's just literally for fun. I used it on my old Frankenstein. It's for illustrations work mostly. It doesn't work for, like, when I say it doesn't work for film, you can export the curves somehow out of here into, say, Maya and use them. Okay, so you can do all your grooming and everything in here just like I showed you, export the curves into Maya somehow. I have never done it myself personally. I just know it can be done, so that may be something you want to do, but it's not really something that I want to do. Anyway, okay, so Tim, I hope this helped you out. Hey, what's up, Marquise? So yeah, so let's move on to when my internet shut down last Friday. We were right in the middle of talking about Marcus's model and talking about topology and what makes good topology and the evenness of it. And what's interesting today, there was a conversation on, I think it was Twitter, where John Troy Nickel, he talked about, who is it saying that quads are king and triangles are horrible? Okay, so I just want to point out the fact that triangles are not horrible. Whatever you've heard in your low density mesh for a game engine, okay, they are worse for a film engine just because, or for a film render, because they don't subdivide very well, okay? But yeah, so that, and I don't know if I've spread that at all or not. You do want to have quads, but more importantly, like a lot of people chimed into that thread, more importantly with topology is your edge flow, okay? So your edge flow is king, not whether you have quads or triangles or whatever. Edge flow is king. That's what's going to give you the best deformation, okay? So I'm trying to find that the one I was showing last Friday. Where is it? Where is it? There it is. Apex Legends. So this one right here. This one is very, very well done. This one is a little more, as far as detail is concerned, this is mostly the details are coming from Substance, right? Baking the maps and all of this stuff is coming from Substance. So all of these cool textures right here, the cool texture in here, all of this stuff is coming from, not all of it, most of it's coming from Substance, okay? All of this nice, and we're going to get into this during the student-only live stream very soon. We're going to be going to Substance very soon. I want to get some leather texture going, some metal texture, some weather, some wear, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, all of this stuff, these lines right here were probably baked. I'm just guessing. Like these shoelaces were most likely baked, and of course this strap's baked. But you can do a lot of stitch work, a lot of like these little dots. All this stuff was done in Substance. That kind of takes you, Substance kind of takes you to the next level in surface design. Okay, so that's why I don't cover it in the course yet as much, because it's like the course takes you to, I want to say infinity, but it doesn't. It takes you to Disney infinity, not infinity, but it takes you to about the level of infinity. And I hate to say this, but not really beyond. So Buzz would hate me for saying that. I should say yet. I really want to, and that's why I'm doing it. But okay, so let's talk about topology. You can kind of see it here, but where you can really see it is in the viewer. This is why I would, that's why I would, I recommend showing your models off in a game viewer, because then your future possible clients or people who would hire you can check out your model, okay, in a close-up way. So this right here, it's Marmoset Viewer. So now we can really get in here and check it out, okay, and kind of scrutinize and see what's going on with it. Would Substance be geared more towards game versus illustration? Yes and no. You can use these as an illustration just as much as you could use them for in-game shots, So specifically, Substance is meant for game engine use. But more and more films are actually taking notice and looking at what you can do with the surfaces, like look dev people like Tyler. They're just like, oh, Substance can do some really cool stuff, where most of the time filmmakers and look dev people, they do things inside of Photoshop, and they don't really have access to something like Substance that has that level of control and those procedural makers and bakers and all that kind of stuff. It is extremely powerful. I think what Substance Painter and Designer do for texture, ZBrush does for digital sculpting. It's kind of that bar, right? And this will get you, Substance will get you to the next level as far as your textures are concerned. So if you're looking to work on a game like Apex Legends, like Uncharted, like The Witcher, things like that, all of those kinds of games, their texture levels are really high. So Brendan Bankston works at Crystal Dynamics, and he's working on the new the Marvel Avengers game that is kind of getting a bad rap because they couldn't afford the licenses of all the actors, but the characters look phenomenal, and he's been working on that, and we're gonna be talking to him. Also, I have a couple of announcements. I'm going to be talking to Letitia about what is the biggest difference between a game mesh and a film mesh, and what are the differences. She is one of the only people, well, not one of the only people, but she is one of the people that I know that have worked both in high level games and high level film. So she's worked at Blizzard, she's worked at DreamWorks, and now she's working at Netflix. And so she knows exactly the differences. And yeah, I can't wait to have an interview with her. So that's coming up. I also have an interview with Joe Pickup from So Much Monsters coming up, and he's going to talk to us about his So Much Monsters stuff, and also we're going to talk about his career. And he's only been in games. I shouldn't say only. He's been in games for quite a while, and he's one of my favorite game artists. Really cool guy, really fun to talk to, and he's been making a whole bunch of Gumroad things that you can pick up, like Substance materials that are really cool. So we're going to talk to him, and of course we're going to talk to Brendan when we get the Substance stuff going for Sirloin for the student-only live stream. So a lot of exciting stuff coming. I just want to let you know that those are set up, and I have dates for those. So we're actually going to do it. Okay, so this is actually a Marmoset viewer. You can click and rotate around and check this model out, and you can hold down Shift and drag the light around. So hold down Shift, left click. It doesn't look like the light is affecting this model too much, but you can see it in the reflections here. As I move around, you can see some of the shadows, but for the most part, moving the light doesn't affect it too much. But sometimes on some models, the back will be all dark, so you can hold down Shift and rotate the light around the back and check it out. So, okay, sorry, one more thing while I'm thinking about it. I just barely, before I started the stream, I just barely got notification of where my table is going to be at Lightbox Expo. So if any of you are coming to Lightbox Expo, please come by, see me, say hello, and hang out if you want, chat with me. I'm going to be, and I'll send out a notification too, but here is the exhibition center, and I'm going to be in 901 right here on the corner. Can you guys see? I'm hopefully, okay, yeah, on the corner, 901. I hope Eamon's like 903 or something. I'll have to ask him, but yeah, I'm really excited about this expo. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm trying to get some banners done and things like that. So should be good. And I'll be showing off some student work. Can't wait. It'll be fun. All right. So I think I lost. There we go. Okay. So let's get back to this. I keep getting distracted. I have crazy ADHD, just so you know. I think most artists do. Okay, so let me show you this. See this little three stripe thing right here? It will show you the different maps. Okay, so you can check out the normals. Now it's weird with the normals with this viewer. You can see the normals, but this is world space normals. This is not tangent space. I wish it would show tangent space normals, but you can still check them out, and you can hold down Shift and roll the camera around and see what the surface looks like without any color on it. Okay, so you can see all the details, and again, Substance Painter will still put all the details in the normals. Okay, you don't have to do all this stuff inside of ZBrush. You can do all the surface stuff. I know some of you guys, specifically like Marcus, when he's painting and he's, when you're doing those really hard edges with your paintbrush, and you have to subdivide your model up to a gajillion polys. I actually I saw a meme recently with Thanos, and like his little helper is going, and Thanos is like, subdivide the model again, and his little helper's like, we don't have enough memory. He's like, do it. It's really funny. Anyway, good old Thanos. Okay, so yeah, so I'm doing the interview on the 6th, and I you know what I should do is I should send out a just a notification so you guys can ask questions for me to ask her if you guys want. So it's going to be on the 6th at night. That's when I'm going to do it. So I'm not going to do it live because I want to edit it after the fact, and people get more, I don't know, anxious if it's live. So I'm not doing it live, but I will ask some questions if you guys want. Okay, so, and we can also check out the albedo, which is the color. Okay, this is just the raw color without any of the normal map stuff. You can check out all of the wear and tear, and you can also see how, you know, you think a character is higher res than it actually is in the game. Okay, so when you look at this stuff really close up, you can see how pixelated it really is. You know, and this is the same with the Blizzard Overwatch characters. When I did Zenyatta, it looks like this close up. It's not extremely high resolution. Okay, so there's the albedo, and then like the reflectivity. Everything that's light is going to be reflective. Everything that's dark doesn't have any reflectivity, and anything that has colors is going to have that color influence the reflectivity. Okay, so usually these reflective maps are generated by hand. So you can use the baked maps to generate them, but then you're going to change things to like black and white, and you're going to just based on the materials that you assign to the things, it's going to generate this reflectivity map, which is, I haven't covered that in the past in the workshop as far as making a reflectivity map like this. You can also see, this is really interesting, is the hair. So they're kind of faking, and I can never say the word right, the anatropsity or whatever the heck it's called. It's just the way the specular light rolls across the hair, but you can see that it's kind of baked in. Okay, so this reflection or this highlight really isn't going to move when she moves her head like real hair does, because there's not much hair sticking out of here anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Then you can check out the gloss. So gloss is different than reflectivity. Reflectivity is you'll actually see like the background reflected in those areas. Now gloss is the specular highlight or the lack thereof, or how much that speck is spread out across the surface. Okay, that's what this map is telling everything to do, right? There's hardly any speck in her pants, and again, the metal bits are shiny, and everything else is just kind of medium, just a little bit of speck. That's more, so this gray tone right here, that's kind of like a vinyl toy. The specular is very spread out across the surface, and where it's white, the specular highlight's going to be really tight, like in an eyeball. See, her eyes are white, just super tight little speck. So, okay, we're getting here, Marcus. All right, here we go. What you've been waiting for is the geometry. So the geometry, this is higher than I've taught in the past, but I really wanted to point out a couple things, and that is everything doesn't need to be sewn in. Okay, you should sew things in when you can, but it doesn't have to be sewn in. Okay, especially these days with the current consoles, it doesn't have to be sewn in. It's just easier to rig if it is, specifically around waistlines like this. See how this is kind of sewn together? It is one piece, but you can see that the jacket is not sewn into the body. See, like this? And it's just like with Kate, I didn't sew her belt into her body, that kind of thing. So, and then like these little belt buckles, sometimes they're sewn in, like this one, and sometimes they're not. Oh, looks like my dog wants back in. Okay. Sometimes they're not sewn in like this piece right here, or these tubes right here. So, okay, I'll be right back. I'm gonna use my awesome pause screen. I'll be right back. Okay. Yeah, I don't have my mic turned off during my pause screen. I should make all sorts of fun sounds. I'm like, boo, 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 boo. Okay, I'm back. Hi. Okay, anyway, this is just a really, really good model to study. Okay, so you can see with these tubes that are going in here, they're not sewn in. They're just kind of floating in there. And then like this belt is not sewn in and these aren't sewn in. It's just kind of floating on the surface, and that's totally fine. Right, Sean? Okay. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. It's kind of like up to your discretion whether you sew it in or not, or how you're gonna, you have to kind of think ahead and how it's gonna bake together, because how it depends on how much you want to explode your mesh, as far as like this metal piece right here cannot be next to this metal piece when baking, because that baking overlap is going to cause some grief. Okay, but as far as your questions, Marcus, I wanted to show you these shoes. Okay, I want to pull up your model here. Let's start this over. Where are we at? Where are we at? Where are we at? Oh, you might be in quick save. Let's see. Nope. I was looking at Mike's awesome model. If you guys haven't seen that, you should check it out. It's really cool. Projects and this one. Okay. But that method would be used for poses only, but not ideal for game characters. No, Jose, that would be a game character. That is what is in the Apex Legends. That is a full-on game character. Oh, right. Thanks, Marcus. Okay. Now my bird's yelling. You know what? I don't care. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, hopefully this opens. Yep. Can you give different materials to a single mesh? Yes. And we're going to talk about that with sirloin as well. So we're going to break sirloin up into two different, well, at least two different texture sets. So that's what they're called, texture sets. I've broken Kate up into multiple, and I've also done characters where I try to get everything on one texture set, which is the way Blizzard wants things. So that just depends. So this is Marcus's model, fantastic. This is inside a Marmoset viewer. And Marcus, again, I love the way you do your painting stuff. So, excuse me, yeah, super cool. Also, Marcus, have you tried hand painting in 3D Coat yet? I just wanted to ask you that. Because I wonder if you could make your mesh, your low resolution mesh, and then take it into 3D Coat, do your UVs, and then hand paint all this stuff in, so you're not having to subdivide your mesh so high. I just wondered if you've tried that yet. Okay, so here is Marcus's topology. Now, a few things stand out as great, and a few things stand out as could use some help. Okay, so these pants are perfect as far as the square density. They could be a little bit lower, but as far as anything, yeah, they're good, just like that. Okay, and then so Marcus, I know a lot of you want to see kind of that workflow. There's one piece missing that I need to figure out, and I need to either ask, oh my goodness, I totally spaced it. Tyson Murphy, I need to ask him because he always starts with an ambient occlusion pass before he starts to paint. And I haven't done that yet, so I need to ask him how to do that. Or this Russian girl does it too. I'm trying to remember her name. So, okay. Let me just do a quick chop right here. Now for these arms, the flow is off. Remember how I said the edge loop flow is more important than whether you have triangles or not. Now this is an instance where I would work on the flow. So make sure you have a line that is splitting that arm off, and then you topologize like a dryer hose. So I don't know if you know what a dryer hose looks like, but you kind of want to do something like that. You don't have to, but this is just a good, let me do it one more time. This helps deformation quite a bit, is if you have everything like this and then go down, okay? Just something like that, because what that does is it makes your edge flow down like that, okay? Because right now, these are like right here, it's all colliding into itself, making a pole right here, and another pole right here, and another pole right here. So when you go to subdivide it or move it around, all that's going to get pinched and look odd. Okay, so try and just keep your edge flow nice and smooth throughout here. Okay, you don't necessarily have to turn it like I showed you, but that helps the best as far as deformation and stuff like that. Okay, so let's go back to, whoops, this. And another area is, as far as I can tell, the face looks really nice, like this right here. But the beard, I would probably cut the mustache and the beard and make it a separate piece, and then really reduce the amount of topology inside of the beard, like probably by half or less, or half or more. So if you look at, I'm trying to draw on the screen again when I can't. Okay, so if you look at this hat, what helps is to find a square size and kind of stick to it, or try to, as much as you can. You can't really stick to it when it comes to eyes and noses and things like that need more detail. But if you can stick with an overall square size, that's going to be your density, okay? So if you have this size of square here, and then you look down here, see, there, you want to try and keep that density across your model. There's not much going on in your beard to need that many squares to describe the surface, okay? So, and you could even make this lip part of this head surface back in here, and then just float the beard and the mustache on top. I know you're trying to bring the flow down from the face across into the mustache, and that's why you would cut it off, because that's not necessary. You can just overlap that area and it should be just fine, if that makes sense. And the same with the shoes. So these chain links are just fine how they are. This rope is just fine how it is. Another thing that you can think about when you're retopologizing is this silhouette, is it describing the surface well enough? Okay, there's areas like this right here that you could probably do a little bit better right here. You don't need this many polygons across the top, because where you want to have as many polygons is when the surface changes, or when it's round, like through here, showing this round edge, that is perfect amount of polygons to describe that surface. And this little bevel that you have right here, perfect. And this rope is really good. Probably this tip has too many polygons in the end, and this probably has a few too many polygons around the perimeter. This is just super nitpicky stuff now. The hands look pretty good. Yeah, I mean, everybody does hands differently. There's not one single correct way to do all of them. So yeah, impossible to redraw. You don't have to do your topology inside of 3D Coat. You can just use your low. That's not a problem whatsoever. You can or you can take it and a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take my low out of ZBrush and then I'll take it into another program like Maya and then fix it up in there, and that becomes my new low, or it'll just become my game mesh that I won't subdivide anymore. I'll just keep it separate, okay? So yeah, so see how you've separated the pants from the jacket? That's perfect. That's what I would do with the beard. Okay, you could tighten this up so there's no hole up in here. You could even like just extrude one more section and just kind of make it so it fills this gap right here. That is actually one of the feedback requests that I got from Brendan on Sirloin was, you know, when he's got that chainmail on his sleeves and his arm sticking out of it, if you look up that arm sleeve, you see a big gap up in there. And he's like, yeah, you'll probably want to close that gap up. And I'm like, oh, of course. So yeah, Sean has a good point. So if you make something like chains or something like that, what you can do is you can build your low right into the insert multi-mesh, you know, mesh. So then, and you can even have it UV'd, I believe. If not, then it's really easy to UV it after the fact, but at least you could build it right into your insert multi-mesh brush. Okay, so I think the biggest offender as far as poly count goes are these shoes. So these shoes are very dense. If I pull this up again, and it's just like the beard, what I would do is kind of look for squares that are about this big, or maybe slightly bigger, you know, something like this. Probably about this big, just to match. You can kind of see this square on the pants here. So continue that square size all over on here. And even for these laces, you could just use one big one. You could use some triangles to get this, you know, this little cut shape right here. Just add a few triangles. But for the most part, you could make bigger squares across here. And then as far as the these details that are running down like this, they're not really changing the silhouette much. So I would let the normal maps take care of those. See these right here? I would let them. I would remove them and let the normal maps take care of them. So wire triangles down 3-4 million just because of the shoes and beards. You can't imagine. So he is. You're saying this is 3 or 4 million count? Where does it say? Triangles. Oh, right. Yeah, it is. 3.4 million. So there's got to be something hidden in here that is making it. So look at these. Oh, here they are. Okay, look at those lashes. See how they're just dark? These lashes have a ton of triangles in there. Yeah, right down here. I don't know if you guys can see that, but yeah, the eyelashes are the offenders because they're so solid that they're black. That's how many. Yeah, that's why. I didn't even notice that. This is moving. It's moving pretty good for me. So. Okay, but yeah, I would focus on the shoes, Marcus, and I would focus on the beard. but overall, it's looking really good. Like this size of square, you could probably even these squares out a little bit, but try to avoid pull areas like this right here and like this right here, especially in the armpits. You want it to be nice and even. Super luscious. Extremely luscious. Also on the bottom of the shoes right here, see all this. I know you're trying to resolve from these details going down across here. Yeah. So I would just kind of, same thing with this in the back. Just kind of let the normal maps take care of that. Can you look the texture at the heel and the fingertips is not sharp? Okay, sure. Let's see. Oh, okay. So you're talking about like this and like this right here. What and like all of like this right through here. So that has to do with the size of your UV space, how much your hand takes up inside of your UV space. So I bet if you look at, I can't see your UV maps right now, but I bet if I looked at your UV maps, your hand would be small, taking up less space inside that UV map, if that makes sense. And how you can fix that is you can either put it on a different, you could put it on a different map that has more texel density, like more resolution, or you could scale the hand up inside of your map, your texture map, inside the UVs, and then rebake it. But that's wise because it just doesn't have enough resolution to carry the density. So same with this Adidas, same thing. And what you could do inside of your UV maps, if you have something like this that really needs the text, the resolution, what you can do is you can grab just that area in your UVs and scale it up inside of your UV area. And what that will do is the exact same thing. That will give that logo more resolution inside of that texture, if that makes sense. So if you have a 4K by 4K map and you put your entire character on that 4K map, what it's going to do is it's going to even out this entire character and give everything an equal amount of UV space based off of what's called texel density. That's just how much a pixel is being spread over the volume of the character based on how big that character is. So if you look at just how big this character is and how much space you're having to cover over the UV map, it's going to put those little tiny logos clear down in, it's going to make them really small as compared to the rest of your character. Same with your hands, it's going to make them small. And that's just the automatic texture, what am I talking about? The pixel density algorithm, the automatic thing, it's just going to do it. And usually you want to stick with texel density because it will cause less stretching across the map of your character, right? But in certain cases, like the Adidas logo, like your hands, you will want to give them a little more real estate, more space for the bake to happen. And so, you can, and inside of 3D Coat, you can scale those parts up. And I will usually give like the face, I'll usually scale the face up too. So, or you can even split the map up into multiple maps, that kind of, and that's how you solve that problem. So, okay, awesome. Yep, this guy's awesome, and I really need to do a lesson on on how to paint by hand inside of 3D Coat. You can also do it inside of Blender. The Blender has a really good hand painting as well. So anyway, yeah, super. I love your texture work. It's really awesome. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Marcus. Great. Okay. Yeah, he paints this inside of ZBrush with poly paint. You have to have a big fat machine and subdivide this up so much. But okay, let's see. Next, I want to talk about Corinne sent me. It sounds like my kids are home, so now they can take care of the dog. Let's see if I can open this. Here we go. He always had us do the lettering in 3D for the normals. Oh, you took a course from Brett. He's awesome. He's gonna be at the ZBrush Summit this year. Okay. So he always had us do the lettering in 3D for the normals. So what do you mean by that, Chris? Like, is it like physically? Like actual geometry for the lettering? I want to spin this around, Corinne. But this is really cool. I love, see, yeah, you've done some really nice surface work in here. That's great. I didn't realize how much detail you were going to in this. That's awesome. Look at that. Reminds me of Stargate textures. Very cool. Yeah, look at that. And I love how the copper, the gold, it looks tarnished. So you've added a little bit of chaos in there. Yeah, no worries, Angelo. I felt super bad that it went down. So, and also I'm gonna be out of town this Friday. I'm gonna be celebrating my son's, is in plural, birthday. So yes, Chris. So actual geometry over hand painting letters or stamping or trying to do any of that kind of stuff, it's always going to result in a better normal map than like real geometry is always going to result in a better normal map than like hand painted stuff or stuff done in Photoshop. And it's just because the simple fact of when it generates that normal map, it's generating it off of real geometry and making the difference between the two. So yeah, it's good stuff. Okay, so Corinne, let's see, what can I say about this? Man, not too much, that's for sure. I like the little glow coming from the base too. That's super cool. Let's see. Just super duper tiny stuff. Like, so the band on this robe thing, it's like thick right here and it goes to thin, and I don't know if that's because your gems are doing it too, and I'm trying to decide because they're not doing it on this side, but they're doing it on this side, so I don't know what I'm trying to decide if that's supposed to be perspective, and it's a little bit warbly, just a tiny bit warbly right here, but not bad. I know it's a game resolution mesh, but I would either even these out so they look, because these are supposed to be made of hard metal, so they wouldn't necessarily shrink or grow. They're from the pose. Yeah, so I would go back in the pose and just push those apart a little bit. Like, I mean, like fix the sizing because they're being squished. And then the thick and thin of this robe edge right here. And this is good. And then I don't know why. I just want to see just a little bit more detail of hair. I mean, you can hand paint this into the texture, it doesn't matter, but just a few little hair details. What you could do with it is, and I don't know what the concept looks like. This is just my knee-jerk reaction. It's just, there's a lot of space of, right in here, just a lot of empty space. And I would either do one of two things, and not both, just pick one. I would either like darken up some hairs coming out of here, but going with the flow of the beard, of course, not straight. So just like, I should probably do this in Photoshop so I can kind of show it better. And some darkness here, and then maybe a couple going down, just to kind of help that flow. Just to kind of fill it out and make the level of detail across the entire character look believable, I guess, right? Or another thing you could do is kind of the opposite, where it gets darker at the bottom, and then you have a couple strands going even further up from there, just to add just that certain level of detail, because this beard piece just looks like a giant chunk that isn't, and then you got all this detail going on right here, all this detail going on right here, and this detail going on right here, and then it's like, it just feels unfinished, I guess. That's the easiest way to put it. If that makes sense. I'm just going to scribble all over your thing. Another area of that seems unfinished to me is the paw. So the paws are very plain, and I should have said something about this before. I didn't notice it. I wish I would have. But there's like, I just expect like, that cat paw thing going on, something that shows like, hey, this is the bottom of my paw, my hand. And I know he's like anthropomorphic or whatever that word is, where it's a cat standing up, but still they still have cat-like things. And I don't know if I would do the paw thing, or if I would do just, you could also do it, like I said, in Photoshop, just kind of make the fingers be longer or something, and just, it's just missing something. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I would maybe put something right there. Okay, so yeah, just something that says, hey, this is the bottom of my hand and I'm a cat. You know what I'm saying? So that's just one other thing. This hat looks extraordinary. I love the wrinkles that you've done. I love this engraved gold stuff. Paw meat. Need to get some paw meat. I love the ears. I wish you could see them more, because it's a really cool detail. Let's see. And one thing I might do is the ear flesh. I don't know if it's fur or flesh or what, but it's kind of in the same family as the gold hat. And I don't know if it's because the gold is reflecting up on it, but you could kind of bring some warmth into them so they look more like fleshy ears, but it might just be the fur and it's being reflected. I'm not sure. But something to think about there. The eyes are pretty good. And you can also come in, I don't know, but what you could do with these eyes, and I saw recently, I'm trying to remember who did it, but you could put just those little floating highlights so you can control it. And just put two little white discs right here. Just teeny tiny little white discs, like 100% white. That's the only time I ever say go 100% white, is on the just two little reflections, just so you can kind of control where they're at. You might want to do that. And maybe exaggerate his teeth slightly. It's hard to do now that you've baked it. I understand that, but maybe you can do it in the UVs and just drag the UVs so his teeth are just a little longer. Yeah, you can paint them in too. Yeah, you could paint the highlights in as well if you want to. But the problem with that is when, if you're doing a 360 degree, if the eyes have, you, I kind of do a mixture of both sometimes where I have a highlight that's stuck on his eyes, and then just let the reflections and everything take care of the rest because you can't control the lighting or where that specular is. And it just brings so much life to the character if you can actually see just a tiny little highlight in there. So anyway, yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. I love it. Awesome. Yeah, the base is fine. I think less is more in this case. And I love how it's like this little magicness coming off of there, like he's all powerful kitty. So okay, so this inside's fur, then maybe just leave it alone or brighten it up slightly. And I don't know that you can, just to match his beard, so it makes it seem like it's still part of him. And again, I don't know if it's because of the reflections or the lighting or the baking or what, but just even in the texture itself, you could go inside of like Photoshop or whatever and just crank up the lightness on that ear just to match his beard a little bit better and bring it together. So okay. All right, let's okay. Is that good, Corinne? Are you satisfied with that feedback? Okay, so this next one is anime character and asking about anime. So Dragon Ball Z. Everybody wants to make Dragon Ball Z characters, which is fine. It's just their their design is quite bizarre to try and hit inside of sculpt 3D, right? The hair just kind of looks like a spiked porcupine or something. I've seen it pulled off very well, and I've also seen it pulled off very poorly. So it's kind of it's a so Jose, if you're just starting out and you're like, I want to learn 3D and I want to make anime characters, I don't know that I would start with an anime character first. I would try and get your skills up to the level because this is kind of it's reaching level 10. You know what I'm saying? Like anime characters are pretty difficult to get appealing. Um, so let me just show you a little bit as far as what what you would do with an anime character. And what's cool with ZBrush is there's actually an anime character built in, and it's right here. See this demo anime head? This will get you, I mean, it's kind of cheating, but this will help you and give you something um, to kind of base your ideas off of. Okay, so yeah, I honestly just that's just my opinion. I wouldn't start with an anime character if it's like this is my first character. I'm gonna do an anime character. Yeah, it's I wouldn't start out with it. But um, okay, so if you watch the head anatomy stuff that I just put up not too long ago, I'm still adding to it. I'm working on the mouth one right now. I'm actually re-recording the mouth one because I realized that I missed some stuff. So um, anyway, you can start with this one, and with anime characters, you can do one of two things. Um, Usually, I will go with flat-ish eyes on. It depends on the design of the anime character, but like 9 times out of 10, their eyes are really, really pushed very far. So it's hard to put a sphere in the head and make the eye shape match the shape that you need because it's just so pushed. Okay, so it's almost easier to have it's so when we did the Cars character for Cars in Disney Infinity, the windshield became their eyeballs, and the windshield is it's a windshield of a car, so it's flat. So how would you make the eyes look around? Well, we would animate the UVs of it, and also like like Mike from Monsters Inc. With that, you would think you could put that big gigantic eye inside of a big green monster, but his eye was just so, it was, to get it to be that expressive, we couldn't, we started with a sphere, but then we moved the sphere and made it a little oblong in shape, and then we cut the back of it off so it wasn't even a full sphere inside of his head, and then we just used the UVs to then animate everything, or animate his iris looking around on his eye, and which made it look like his eye was looking around, and it worked really well. So anytime we had characters that had really wonky eyes like that, like I did the tractor, you know, the tractors from Cars, they have these big windshield eyes that they act like cows in the film, and their eyes are the same way. They're just big. And what is the main, let's see, I just want to kind of show you a good thing to do is research collectibles of Dragon Ball Z that have been done in the past and see what they've done with it, and try and match the look, I guess. Like I said, there are some successful ones and some not so successful ones, but okay, like this guy, for example, I know he's pushed, but those are essentially, that's just kind of a plane on the inside of his head that's been slightly pushed out into a spherical shape. Okay, that's the size of sphere that you'd have to have inside of his head for that to work would almost be the size of his head, and it would stick out the side of his head. So it's not very realistic to do something like that. But something like this, it's kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can use pick larger images. Yeah, see, it's specifically for Dragon Ball Z characters. The eye shape is just so specific, with their eyebrows just sitting slammed right down on top of that eye. You can see that. Yeah, Chris, let me see if I can do. Let me see if I can do that. I'd have to set it up. I could do it, but I have to set it up. But just, well, let me see. Trying to think if I can just, if I have time to make it really quick or not. Essentially, I would make a texture with a black spot in the middle. That's just a big square, black spot in the middle, and then get a plane and make it inside of Maya or something like that. Add the UVs to it, and then assign that texture to that big flat plane. So it's just 1-to-1. So it's just a big square with a big black circle in the middle. And then all you do is you grab all the UVs, right? And then you can add, I'm trying to think of what it's called. Maybe you guys can help me out. It's a specific thing inside of Maya that allows you to slide UVs and add keys to them. So you would slide the UVs one direction, and the circle on that plane would go the opposite direction because you're sliding those UVs around. You can make it look up and down within that plane, if that makes sense. I'm trying to remember what it's called. There's a specific name for it, but it's really simple to set up, but it would take me some time, and I don't want to bore you guys. But for the next Q&A, I could probably set something up and show you. It's not that hard to set up. It just takes some time. Okay, but that's a good question. Okay. Yeah, they just use planes. They just use stickers. So what you could do with this, if you could start out with an anime head like this, and then you can just draw with the Z modeler, like say I wanted to do an eye shape like this, right? Yeah, Jose, you would lower it later on. I mean, you could Z remesh this right now. So let me duplicate it and I'll just do it. So this has been Dynameshed, right? So what you can do is just go to Z Remesher. Geometry, Z-Remesher. And I'm going to turn this down to like 2,000 polys and hit Z-Remesh. And then it'll do its best here. But these are, the reason I'm showing you this head is just specifically for proportions, but you can still block out the head like I show in the workshop. But this is just a good anime head proportion start, okay? So here it is lower resolution. You can solo it. Turn on dynamic subdivisions. So this is it with lower resolution. Pretty much the same thing. Anyway, what I was going to show you for those eyes is you can grab the Z-Modeler brush, or sorry, the topology brush, and just draw those eyes in. Like it's going to be a shape like this, right? So you can just cut across here, and then clean those up. I talk about this Z-Remesher or the topology brush when I'm talking about clothing. This is the same way I do clothing. But you can start with something like this, or what you can do, because what this is going to do is this isn't going to give you the best curvature for an eyeball, right? But basically what you can do is, I'm going to just make this a single plane, and then click on the surface, and there's our eye shape. And then I'm going to split unmask points, undo solo, let's hide the Dynamesh version and grab these eyes. So these eyes now look like this, okay? And what you can do is just kind of pull the surface out. And then you can build up the eye cavity around them. That's kind of how that one I was showing you before, how it was built, the really chibi looking one. Anyway, I'll kind of show you here in a second. So I'm going to subdivide this and kind of just bulge it out and make the curvature. You could also put a sphere in there for the curvature, a really, really big sphere, draw on the surface of that, and then when you get your, when you extract and add the not the thickness, but you make it into a plane, you'll have the curvature of that sphere to start with rather than the bad curvature of this head. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this eyeball kind of in to the head. Whoa, sometimes it doesn't want to let go when I'm spinning this. Okay, so you can just kind of push it into the head and make it kind of look like it's an eyeball sticking out of the head like this. See that? And then you just grab the head itself. I would actually, you can use the high resolution one with Sculptris Pro if you want, but you can just build up. Where's the fill brush? Just got to be careful with Sculptris Pro. Just build up the eyelids around this. Something like that. Just to make it look like it's not a plane sitting on the surface, that it's actually embedded into the head, if that makes sense. And you can just come along here and with like your pinch brush and just kind of follow. And then push it in up top, just to give him some eyelids. But it just depends on the design of the anime that you're going for. Change the eye shape if you want to. And then you have to go, sometimes you have to go back and forth, because you might have to pull the eye back into the head. But again, this is just more using a plane rather than a sphere to do your eyes with, which is possible, but it's not recommended most often, just because it's very hard to rig, and it taxes a game engine to do it this way, like to animate the UVs, it's taxing because it has to do some extra calculations. Turn Sculptris off. Anyway, does that make sense? Kind of. That's sort of how I would do animate eyes. This is how I would do a nose. Now mouths, I would do. Just be careful, right? Don't add a whole bunch of anatomy in the mouth, and that's one of the things I actually need to go over in the mouth section. Is don't add anatomy where there isn't any. Like a lot of people, you'll see like they know what a mouth anatomy is, so they'll try and put it in here where it's not necessary, right? If the concept is calling for a slit mouth, it's just a slit, then just make a slit. Don't make lips and the little lip valley and all, smile lines and all that stuff. No, just make it be what it's calling for. And how you do that is just kind of like super subtle slit mouth. It's much easier to do a slit mouth when you have a mouth cavity and you close it. That's what I want to demo, is you just have a mouth cavity and you close it. And at the end of the head anatomy part 2, the head is almost there. It's almost a slit. So I'm just going to kind of push it a little bit more and show you how that works. So, and then you can just kind of come in here with, I've been really enjoying Sculptris Pro lately. It's just because you don't run out of geometry. It's just very, I have to say it every time, it's just very dangerous for new sculptors because there's no limitation. So you can kind of dig yourself a hole very quickly. So this is if her eyes or her eyes were way up here. But anyway, then you can just like, you can put the Dragon Ball Z hair in with a bunch of just, basically how people make this hair is kind of like what Chris, when you posted in the, where did you post that? You were posting some hair recently on the Discord channel. And if you guys aren't on the Discord channel, please check it out over there. Hop on the Discord channel. It's hopping, where the student community is kind of slowing down and a little bit quiet. If you want maybe some distraction or, some help or whatever, you can get to that Discord channel by going over to, you go inside the student community right here. And then on the right hand side is the Discord channel right here. Okay, you can click there, check it out. Okay, it's in off topic. Okay. See if I can find it. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for posting this, Lucky. Oh, it's too funny. So anyway, just I would actually put a strand in there, something like that, and it wouldn't take much, and just place them all around. You can even duplicate them, scale them. That's kind of how Dragon Ball Z hair is made. Just make sure you follow two things. Let me show you. Let's just look at this guy's hair for a second. So you follow two things. The big shape, which is kind of almost a big flame. Okay, it's a big kind of a flame, teardrop shape, like this, and then like this. So it's almost like, yeah, just make this big kind of hair shape like this. Then you go down to the next level and do I don't know if you'll be able to see this blue pen, but then like the secondary shapes, like this one and these pieces. And this is where you'll actually lay the pieces in, still following kind of that initial red shape. So they're all kind of pointing in that direction of that initial red big shape that's giving you the direction. Okay, and then last, what you can do is the little tiny ones. You can see like this little peak right here and the peak going down each one of these for the final details, that kind of stuff. So, yep, think of it like an ice cream cone for sure. Anyway, Jose, I hope that helps you out. Best of luck. You can also grab this head and just change it to match whatever you're going for. But this is kind of the most successful anime style nose that I've seen. It's just something super subtle like this. Doesn't have a lot of plane changes. Doesn't have a lot of information. Don't go putting nostrils on there. Don't put nostril holes in there. You know, just keep it simple, keep it small, keep it pointy. That's kind of the most successful I've seen. And it always depends on the concept, right? Concept is king. But if you look at these, yeah, you can't even see his nose in there. But you can kind of see the eye shape that I was making. Yeah, I'm just trying to find a good example. It's the Funko Pops are taken over, so it's hard to see. These are some cool eyes on this guy. Let's see this one. Yeah. See, his nose is just barely there, and you can barely see it, make out his mouth. The biggest thing on the face are the eyes. But you can see on this one, so this one's a little bit different because it's being viewed from the side, but it still kind of has that that ice cream cone direction, right? So it's kind of swooping out like that. And then you just kind of follow it with the secondary shapes. Whoop, 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 whoop. And see how they're all kind of pointing in the same direction. So, all right. So hopefully that helps. Do you guys have any more questions for me today? I think we're gonna wrap it up pretty soon. Since this is kind of a continuation of the Friday one. Trying to think of what else I was gonna say. Okay. Yeah, if you guys have any other questions, please let me know. For the start of your week for Monday, if you're stuck, again, make sure you post your questions inside Discord. A lot of great people in there answering questions, so thank you guys. Don't you have to know in advance what software your client will be animating in, though? Not necessarily. Because unless I'm mistaken, a rig made in 3D will only work there. Yes, so the rig is what is important. The mesh is not. Okay, so you can model a model anywhere. You can model it in Blender or 3D Studio Max or ZBrush, or it doesn't matter. But where it's rigged is very important because it completely depends on the project. Now, you can transfer bones between software and weight skinning between software with FBX. So a film box. So FBX file is a film box file. It comes from Motion. I'm trying to. Filmbox made. Why can't I remember the name of it? It's a mocap software, and they came up with the Filmbox, the FBX format, and so you can transfer bones and skin weighting between, say, Max, Maya, Modo, all of those. You can bring them back and forth. But what you can't transfer are the handles and the drivers. So yeah, the handles and drivers will have to be set up wherever. And you can even do an auto rig. So an auto rig will generate handles and bones and things like that. It usually like place the points in like the joints, and then it will generate the bones, and then you do have to do the skin weighting onto the bones. And then you'd have to delete all of the handles and everything that it creates and just leave the bones. And oh, that's cool. I keep forgetting that there's a screensaver on here. Where'd you get the concept for your Loki base from? I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it's just from the concept department. So let me see. Oh, and you know what? Somebody was asking about eyeballs in like the Frozen characters, and I was going to actually open one up so you guys can see. But let me look up Loki first. No. Okay, pose. Maybe toy pose. Let's take a look. So across all the Avengers, what's up with the skin? Okay, there we go. So basically, these are just rocks, and they're similar rocks across the entire. All the Avengers have kind of a similar base to them, and this rock texture is just noise from a brush that we found online, like on the ZBrush Central Repository or something about that. Yeah, Oka. Is Oka here? I don't know. Yeah, you need a concept department. But or you know what? It's also just finding reference of you know what you want it to look like, and then trying to replicate that in a designery type way. I don't know. That's kind of that's essentially what I would do is I just look up reference and find rocks that look similar, and then just kind of build them out piece by piece. Each one of these rocks were a separate piece, and then we just kind of you can hit them with the trim dynamic brush to add some really cool kind of cuts and things like that, and then you can hit them with the Orbs crack brush to add some of these cracks. And then there's some brushes that will specifically weather stone like this, but like the trim dynamic is like you can really just kind of just figure out rock shapes by hitting it like that, because trim dynamic is like polish, but it's a lot faster, and you can make some pretty cool rock shapes really quickly with it. You can even turn up the intensity and just knock it back really quick. So anyway, that's a quick, easy way to do rocks. Let's see. So let's see, Elsa, I think it is. Elsa. Oh, there's Elsa Premium character. We could look at that. No. Oh, they didn't upload it. Really? Oh, there it is. Okay. This is the T-pose, though. Let's take a look. All right. So let's turn on transparent. And there you go. Just like we were on, Chris. Just like that. That's how big the eyes are in the head. And these eyes actually have a cup taken out of them, which you can see like this. Usually we didn't do this with the eyes, so it's kind of surprising that they are that way on her. But let's see her regular one. 3D print, T-pose, posed. This is one Chris Wright did. Okay, this is, yeah, so see her eyes are not pushed in. And we can look at transparent. They're pretty much the same. But yeah, it's like we, it's kind of like we said, right? In the thing, I can take a screenshot of this and post it and say, this is it. It's like this. It's eyes are so interesting because, and they're hard to rig when they overlap in the middle too. You almost have to rig one eye at a time and skin weight one eye at a time. But since they're not, since they're rigidly bound, you can almost parent them to the bone. I'm getting into rigging talk. I'm sorry, but you don't have to skin weight eyeballs because they're rigid. they don't bend usually. They're just solid, so you can just parent them. They don't have to be skinned. But sometimes when you're trying to mirror bones and mirror things like that, if they're crossing the center line, the mirroring becomes a problem. So anyway, yeah, this is my old ruler. This is the ruler I made that we used for Disney Infinity. So, and there's the actual base. This is a really cool base that they came up with. It was actually an icon from the movie. But Christopher did a fantastic job with her hair. Just really nicely laid everything down in layers, like starting from the inside and then ending with the outside and having these tendrils kind of end in really fun and interesting ways. And big, thick and thin shapes. You know, there's small, there's big, there's, yeah, really, really nice job with this. And that hand is really straight. Look at those fingers on that hand. Yeah, it's not the claw hand with all the space in between the fingers, right? Yep, and this dress is really nice. Let me hide that ruler. So see how subtle the cloth wrinkles are? Like there's one pinch coming from her leg being underneath this dress, and there's no wrinkles up here. As this dress is getting pulled in this direction, it's creating one fabric fold right here. And you can actually see how thick this dress is for print and how the legs are working. And then the same thing from back here. It's just kind of being pulled. Very subtle. There's only two back here and one in the front. That's it. And then there's this one crest peak going down, aiming down her leg to help the line of action of this front leg just being like boom, you know. Is she polygrouped? Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm sure her hair is polygrouped like this. For sure. And there's her face. Usually we polygroup just the jaw so we can get to it and open it up. And it looks like her eyelashes are in a different polygroup. But this was done really back before, well, of course, before folders, before live boolean, before any of that stuff. You can see this hand pose right here. Super nice hand pose. I should do more examples of that inside the hand anatomy. But you can see how squared off these fingers are and how it's like the hands are telling a story, right? They're like this one, she's casting ice. You can almost see the ice coming off of her hands. And this one is like she's tense and she's focusing. So what is this hand doing? It's like in a tense focused position. It's not just kind of willy-nilly, this is my hand pose. There's a reason behind it, as there should be. And this is when we were cutting the arms off to make them look like toys. This is kind of the only thing left of her that even looks like a toy, is this stuff being cut like that. So anyway, yeah, this was one of my favorite ones. Super cool. Anyway, any other questions, you guys? I'll post this. Give me a drink. And is the sound working better? This is, like I said, I'm using this Streamlabs OBS that looks a lot different. This is what it looks like. There's the mirror. Whoa. But this is what it looks like to me. It looks way different than OBS, even though it's still using the same back end. So yeah, that helps, Jose. Yeah, good luck on that. Like I said, if you want to try some eyes like that, that's probably your best bet, other than trying to fight a sphere. Specifically, don't try and fight a small sphere. Small sphere eyes are your enemy. But that being said, I see a lot of students just kind of making their eyes too big in general. Like I don't mean to point out Adelia, but this is one example. they're just a little bit too big. So try to like same with these. Look how puny these eyes are. I don't know if you're in here, John, but these are a lot. They're almost 3 times the size of these. So really pay attention to what the concept is telling you and try and do your comparison. Half of being a modeler is knowing, like, observation, seeing, being able to see, being able to compare, and really hitting these concepts. So, and it's a journey for sure. But hey, it's a hand block out. Cool, cool. All right. Anyway, you guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. If you right click and copy images. Oh, yeah, I've done that. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, it's super cool. Did somebody ever let the dog back in? Yeah, I did. I ran up there and let her back in. That was me. So, yeah, she's back in. But anyway, again, let me post this. This is a fantastic character to study for topology. Kind of see what things look like. And again, this is kind of next level topology. This face, even though it still follows like the Sergi Caliber and the Hippodrome kind of face layout. It's more dense than I show with Kate or with Sirloin, but the rules still apply. It just has a few more spans in there, and it's kind of overkill. Honestly, I'm just going to say right now, this is overkill for these eyeballs, and for the mouth. It's a little too much, but that's me. That's my opinion. I wouldn't put this many in there, even with a character of this density. But overall, this is all pretty nice. Anyway, all right, guys, I can't help. I'm like critique. Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks for hanging out, and thank you so much for your patience with my technology. You know, the microphone going down, the internet going down. What's next, right? So anyway, thanks so much. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Chris. So we will see you guys. Have a fantastic week. I'm going to try and do a student-only live stream this Wednesday, but again, this Friday I will be out, so there will not be a Q&A this Friday. So if you have any questions or showstoppers, either post them in the Discord channel for people to help you out, or send me an email directly, and I'll try to get that question answered. So, all right, guys, take care. It's been awesome, and have a wonderful week. We'll see you on Wednesday. All right, cheers. We'll see you.